we want to say a massive thank you to ACT and to Ayrton for supporting Women in Lighting and supporting this session and supporting the book and all sorts of other wonderful things.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We're very, very grateful to them. So we're going to tell you a little bit about what the Women in Lighting project is. I apologise if you've heard it before. I know a couple of you have heard it before, so sorry, but I know that everybody hasn't. And then we're going to move on to our much more interesting speakers who are going to talk about their work. So to kick off, I'm Sharon.
And I'm Martin. And we are a company called Light Collective. So we've a UK-based lighting consultancy. We've been working together for about 15 years now, although we've been in lighting for a lot longer than that, probably 30 odd. Sharon's based in London. I'm based in Birmingham in the UK. And our background is architectural lighting. So the world of entertainment is something new and exotic to us. It's really fancy. We really like it. But we do work on all sorts of architectural projects over the years. And we've also been known for a series of sort of activist projects, I guess you could call them. So this is one of the projects we've done over the years. This is just to give you an idea of the scale, I guess, of the sort of things we've worked on. This is a retail project in Kuwait. So this is just the entrance to the cinema zone. The whole space is about 3 miles long. It's a massive retail project. That was probably one of the biggest projects we've done. But our scale also encompasses quite small projects. This was a private residence in Tuscany, in Italy, just a very nice converted farmhouse. We've also done a few projects where we're using light as a communication medium. So this is an installation we created that reacts by changing color depending on what data you put into it. So you answer 7 questions about your career and your background and your location. So really random facts, and it creates a light pattern based on that. So it's called Design DNA. So it was about sort of using light as communication piece, really.
So we've always been involved in kind of activist things, as Martin said, and we think that light's a really good medium to do that. So this is an image from a project called Guerrilla Lighting. And the aim was to involve local communities to light up their environment so they could learn firsthand how light can change places. So all the people in the picture are holding a torch, a flashlight, but in the US, a flashlight, a really high-powered one. And basically it was kind of a choreographed design thing. It looked like it was spontaneous, and it was a very quick, cheap, easy way to show what light can do to architectural space. And this is another project which is called Going Dark, and it's in Italy in a tiny heritage village. And basically we do a workshop there annually with a group of about 50 international designers. And it's all about sort of understanding how we can light heritage space, but also protect the night sky. So Tuscany has a bit like Nevada, an incredible night sky, but obviously light pollution obscures it. So it's looking at that. We're also really into sort of tech and AI and interesting, cool stuff like that. And we do some events about disruption last year in London and Mexico. So just a few little things of the kind of projects that we work on. So Women in Lighting is a project, and it's one of our projects. And the question is, what is it? So for those of you that don't know, essentially it's a global community. The project launched on International Women's Day in 2019 with a vision to create a more sort of inclusive and diverse lighting community. The heart of it is a beautiful website, which got literally hundreds of interviews with women in lighting from different countries. Some are interviews that we have done, and some are uploaded by women themselves. There are hundreds. There's also lots of blogs and articles and all of the events and initiatives that happen around the world.
So what's the point of Women in Lighting? That's a question we have been asked many times over the years.
What's the point of it?
Over the past 5 years. And as Sharon said, it's really important that I think for us to say that Women in Lighting, our version of it, it's a project. So it's not a group, it's not a membership thing. The idea was to celebrate women working in lighting and raise their profile, to sort of highlight their achievements, their challenges and their contributions. importantly, I think we did it to inspire and encourage other women, because we saw on the architectural side that there was an imbalance. And so that's why we started this, to try and address that imbalance and to provide some support across the community. And I guess in a way, what we wanted to do was try and change things a bit and bring out some different voices, make the industry more diverse and inclusive from what we could see.
So the reason we started it is because we made a mistake. So we're
Not starting the project.
No, sometimes I think that. No, we made a mistake in another project, and this is a project called The Perfect Light, which was a film about light. It was about LED and questioning whether LED was the perfect light. We're old enough to have worked in lighting, long enough to have used tungsten, metal halide and fluorescent and all those other sources, and then all of a sudden they're all gone and we had LED. So we thought we would interview lots of different designers around the world about this question and get their opinion on it. And we made a quite badly edited film, but a film nonetheless. So these are all the people we interviewed.
What's wrong with the image?
Yeah. So I think 23, 24 people we interviewed, only 3 or 4 of them were women. So when we travelled around showing the film in different sort of events around the world, we were challenged. We were challenged in America, so that's where it began. A group of female designers said, "We love your film. Where are the women in it?" And we realised we'd made a really, really terrible mistake in not representing
the community,
making it 50-50.
It's interesting because on the architectural side, the community is pretty much 50-50. There's a very even spread of male-female designers in all the practices we know. So this mistake we made and this unconscious bias made us look at our industry in more detail. So this is a photograph we took back around 2018, 2019 from an event called Light Fair, which is a trade show like LDI. It's been going for 30 years, as you can see. And that's the keynote speakers that they've had over the 30 years. About 3 of them are women. So we then sort of to delve even deeper. We looked at juries, judging panels, conferences and events. And we sort of found that it wasn't just us with this unconscious bias. It was clearly there. There were a lot less women on judging panels, or a lot less women speaking at conferences. So that was the sort of...
Our favourite one was in Austria. It was called, I name it, I'll shame them, Trends in Lighting. And the year when we started this, they had 1 female speaker and 41 male speakers. So finding this out and realising this, maybe it sounds very obvious, but 5 years ago it didn't, made us want to do something and lead change and address this sort of gender imbalance. So the project is represented by a whole load of ambassadors. When we started the project, we had a plan to do about 12 interviews and to enlist maybe 10 ambassadors from different countries where there were a lot of designers, just to sort of help share the interviews and the idea of it. Now we've got ambassadors for the project in 80 countries, which is crazy. With 2 new ones joining last month, Georgia and Slovakia. It's incredibly well represented. But as Martin said, there's no membership. It's a global community. Everyone is welcome to join, and events are open to both women in lighting and male supporters. And I'm so pleased to see some of you here today, because quite often the phrase women in lighting means that no men come through the door. So this is awesome. So in the last 5.5 years, the project's grown massively. It wasn't anything we intended. It spiraled almost out of control. It's got a big social media presence. We think it's big, 11,000 on Instagram. It's now really sort of more than the website. It's a huge network, international community. And has fostered things like, support and mentorship and collaboration and innovative things happening everywhere.
So, I mean, as well as sort of doing this community across the globe, there's lots of different ways that people are getting together. This is an image from the LATAM women in lighting community. They get together online and share their sort of stories and The project sort of has bridged now across lots of different disciplines, which is really good. So we've got women working in architectural lighting, we've got light artists, we've obviously started to expand into entertainment lighting, but it does include educators, engineers, artists, everything really. And we are hoping and we are getting is the sort of the 50-50 support, the male support. So we're looking sort of to try and increase that allyship because that's what we need to make this change, really. We need the sort of conversations.
So what has it achieved? All sorts of different things. I mean, there's too many to mention, and many of them we don't even know are happening. We might see something on social media, and we're like, oh my God, they're doing something in Indonesia, and that's amazing. So there's loads of images here. Book in India, another book in Russia, a survey, meetups in the Netherlands, self-defense in, I think that was
The Philippines,
the Philippines.
Yeah,
all sorts of things. Lots of social media challenges, lots of international meetups. This is in Dubai at a show called Light Middle East, where all of the local ambassadors came to speak about working in their countries in that region. Really interesting, you know, to have Kuwait and Saudi and Lebanon and all of those women come together to talk about their work. And the projects allowed us to do things like we had our own awards during COVID because we wanted to keep the community together, and it's meant that we could do things like honour women that have been working in lighting for a very long time and people might not know their names. So the woman on the top is Motoko Ishii. She's a Japanese lighting designer. She's been working for 55 years in lighting, done a real pioneer, but most people don't know her name. So there's a couple of projects within the project. We're just going to mention them before we finish. So do you want me to do something?
I can do some talking. It's okay, I know you. So one of the largest projects we did is called Collected Light. And there was another thing called a Global Gathering Survey. But in 2022, we started to look at women working as light artists. And the reason we did this is because when you Google light artist, you just get a list of men working as light artists. And they're brilliant. It's Olafur Eliasson, James Turrell, fantastic artists. But we knew that there were also a lot of women out there working as light artists. So we decided to sort of see if we could shine a light on that, if you like. And that led to us making a book that profiled 45 different female light artists. This was our sort of first ever venture into making a book, a bit like making a film. We'd never done it before. We just thought, well, let's have a go and see if we can make it. The one you've got in front of you is the second book. It's actually the third in the series, but it's been published before the second one. So yeah, and this book is available now on Amazon, so you can buy it anywhere in the world, lots of different countries, and you can get it print on demand on Amazon.
And it also led us to buying light art, not us personally, but like with a sponsor. So we bought together with our architectural sponsor, a company called Former Lighting, 8 pieces of light art from female light artists and showed the collection in London, Milan and Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same again next year with new pieces. So some of them are pretty stunning.
Yeah.
It's just a few.
And then the other bit that I mentioned was the Global Gathering Survey. So in 2023, we decided, okay, we've been talking about this for a while, but let's actually find out what's happening. Let's find out what people think. Let's find out how balanced offices are, where people work, what salaries are like, etc. So we set up a survey that took about 20 minutes, but had quite a lot of questions in it. And we sent it out, and we got about 880 responses to this survey. And it generated like a vast amount of data on lots and lots of different subjects. I think we sent it to both men and women. We had about 30% responses from men, 70% from women, 73 different countries. I mean, you can see from this little that's the spreadsheet. It was a huge amount of data. And it covered everything, as we said, from salary to what type of computer you use, what professional memberships are you in, what associations are you in. And we collated the data, put it into some charts, and we tried to cross over some of the data to find out what the trends were, what was going on. And all of this data is available on the Women in Lighting website, and you can download it, you can share it, you can use it. If you are any good at data analysis, which we're not, you can have some of the raw data and you can look at the different things yourself and maybe generate some more graphs that we can put back into the project and share with other people.
So essentially, we're from architecture. That's where we were concentrating our project on. And then the lady in pink over there, Linnea, contacted us and asked if there was a way that Women in Lighting could move into the entertainment sector. How could we, bring the project into this world? So we kicked off and we did something very similar at the beginning. We did some online interviews with some really interesting women. And then it kind of started to grow a bit. So this has sort of led to quite a lot of international meetups at shows like Plaza here. We have a meetup at the end. And I've gone blank on shows. Pro Light and Sound.
Yeah.
Or different events with sort of women getting together and going on trips or having a sort of talk. There's one in Iceland in January where the participants can get to sort of have a Q&A with Suna Routhier. So Women in Lighting Entertainment has started to have a community of its own, essentially. So Ayrton has now hosted 3 Women in Lighting sessions in Paris, where they're showroom, where they're based, and that's with partnering today with ACT in a similar format. And we had a couple of weeks ago a whole day with different speakers with different backgrounds. We had art, architecture, theatre, rock and roll, and that's all the women that came to it, many of whom are in this book.
And so that was the event that we launched the book at. Again, as we said, this is the book you've got in front of it. There's 65 women featured in the book, and they're from theatre, dance, live entertainment, rock and roll, TV, film, all the sort of everything we could find, basically. And we reached out to as many people as we could. And the spread of countries, experience levels, genre, backgrounds, it's really, really wide. You can see in there's sort of people who are at the start of the career, people who've been working for a long time. It does focus on projects, so we try to look at where those people are working. We've asked them a sort of all the same series of questions, so you can compare what some people think to others. We've asked them about their favorite technologies, for example, or what shows they've worked on. Some of them, we've got this, we're just showing Danielle Feinberg because she's sort of quite unique in the book. She's the lighting designer for Pixar. So she's a lighting designer at Pixar, works on lots of movies like Coco, but she's never touched a real light in her life. She sort of works with virtual lights, but she's got a really incredible understanding and language and storytelling that she talks about light. And where you going?
What's in
So
that picture?
So that one, no. This was the launch at Ayrton's Paris, brand new showroom. So they launched the showroom and the book at the same time. There you can see everybody who came along, including some of our speakers and obviously lots of people who were in the book.
We've been using this picture. It's a nice picture, Carla. Sorry. So kind of what happens next for the Women in Lighting project? Probably it's as unpredictable as it has been for the last 5.5 years. But if anybody wants to be involved, you can submit your own interview on the website. You can sign up for the newsletter. There are 2. There's a specialist one for entertainment. You can contact your local ambassador. So Linnea is a Women in Lighting ambassador for entertainment, but we also have a US ambassador. And as I said, 80 different countries where there's an ambassador. Keep up with us on social media, come to an event like this, join anything that's happening online. Just talk to us, talk to each other. So basically, we're just going to keep going. We're going to keep trying to create space for women where there was little or no space before and keep supporting women.
The gender balance in architectural lighting I would say is probably slightly female dominant now. It's definitely 50-50. If not, when we're looking around the practices that we see around the globe, architecturally, it's definitely more female. In entertainment, I mean, our own experience is just from walking around LDI, Pro Light and Sound, and things like that. And I mean, my estimation would be significantly lower, but you guys are probably far more qualified to say. I'd be surprised if it's like 15% in entertainment. Yeah, saying lower over there. Yeah.
But then things like in the survey, there's, like how many females are the head of a practice, or how many, there's all different ways of looking at the stats and seeing where women have got to or not got to. But anyway, we can do some more questions at the end. What we're going to do is move on to our amazing speakers. Do we have Sharon in the room? Hello. We're going to kick off with you, if you don't mind, just for 10 minutes. And then we're going to move on to Erica, Carla, and Kat afterwards. Yeah? So.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Huizinga, and I myself am a lighting designer with a healthy side dish of pixel-related activities. And my career has spanned lots of different parts of the entertainment industry, so theater, dance, and opera, certainly, but also concerts and corporate events and some sporting events. And primarily now I'm an educator, so I'm associate professor of lighting at the University of Cincinnati's College Conservatory of Music, but I am now the program director for a new school called the Academy of Live Technology at Rocklidditz. And in that capacity, we're going to spend the next 10 minutes together to talk a little bit about the educational things that are happening up at Rocklidditz. Just a show of hands, who knows what Rocklidditz is? Okay, some but not all. Great. I like to think of Rocklidditz as a giant coming together of minds and equipment and buildings and people. So a few different functions that are happening up there. One is it's a rehearsal facility for large-scale tours. They've built the equivalent of a stadium without the audience, an arena without the audience, and something like a shed without the audience, as well as a club, so that you can rehearse a stadium tour, an arena tour, a shed tour, and a club tour up there. In addition, it's the global headquarters for Tate and Claire Global, which is a really large audio company. Fourwall has offices there, Fuse has offices there, Rocket Cargo, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of different tenants up there. So when people come and rehearse productions and they have things that they're working on, of course, Tate is right across the street, Fourwall's right across the street. They've also built a hotel and restaurants, and now they've built a school. So we have this educational endeavor that is parked right in the middle of this living, breathing production mechanism. And here's just a few of those tenants that are out at Rocklidditz and the owners. And the idea behind this is that we want to have education where the people's career starts the day they walk in. So instead of thinking in terms of, I'm going to go get training and then I'll go enter the industry, we're looking at ways to embed that so that their career starts on day one. And the proximity to all of the people coming through rehearsing and all of the companies that are there on campus means that as the program director, I'm able to access an unbelievable diversity of people to come and teach. And this has been the key component for me. So, I started in lighting. I was definitely the only woman on the tour bus, right? And that situation has changed quite a lot in my lifetime. There's still work to be done, but it's changing. And when I look out now at classes of students, we're getting way more half and half, at least in terms of male, female. And I think that, we all know how much representation matters. So when I'm looking at this from an educational perspective with the Academy of Live Technology, I'm trying to bring in, I think you were just mentioning Suna Routhier. So when people come through, we pull them from rehearsal studios, those who are willing, to come in and give lectures so that as people move through the program, everybody's getting an opportunity to see an incredibly diverse set of perspectives and working practices. So a lot of education anyway, in North America is very focused on theater, dance, and opera processes. And Academy of Live Technology is interested in saying, what happens if we invert the ratio a little so that what we're teaching is about 80% concerts and festivals and cruise ships and theme parks and fashion shows and aircraft launches and, everything else, and still 20% theater, dance, and opera. That's our history. And the foundation of a lot of our practices. So just a couple of words about that. The Academy of Live Technology has existed in the UK for about 15 years, and it's located on the Production Park campus, which was the same idea in the UK, rehearsal facility, and many of those same entertainment industry companies located there. They do a number of different BFA and MFA degrees. And then when they were looking for, hey, where do we want to be in the US, Rocklidditz was a natural partnership. So Academy of Live Technology at Rocklidditz is this new entity. And we do a single 4-year BFA degree where people come in and learn something about sound and lighting and staging and pixels and all the managements and all the business of the business. And then they choose throughout their degree where they're going to go into that. And we do that with a local partner, a local college, Pennsylvania College of Art and Design. We also have started implementing short course intensives. And this is something I'm really interested in because I don't know if y'all have noticed, but not everybody is interested in going to get a 4-year degree in order to enter into the entertainment industry. Or they already started that degree program somewhere else. And I think the idea of me saying, well, if you want to work in concerts, you're going to have to dump that school and come to our school, that's not realistic or fair. That's a horrible situation to put people in. So I've started to create 1-week-long intensives, again, with the ability to pull from all these industry professionals who come through Rocklidditz or affiliated with them in order to have people who have a little bit of knowledge. Maybe they already know about lighting for theater or lighting architecture, but just want to come in and learn the concert lighting design process. Or maybe they didn't get MA3 programming in their school program. So whether that's professionals or people who are in another degree program at another school, we're opening that to anyone who's had like 2 years of experience, let's call it, and trying to embed that into all kinds of different experiences for people so that there's not just one path. Because the one path it's the right path for lots of people, but it's not accessible to everyone, and it's not the preferred path. Here's just a little overview of some of these. So we're trying to make these courses the equivalent to a 3-credit-hour class, so it's easy for universities to embed that into their curriculum. 1-week time commitments scheduled outside of people's semesters. And again, this really intensive and immersive, and industry professionals coming in, the faculty, facilities, and equipment that maybe other schools don't have access to, or that are just incredibly hard to get your hands on. If you're an early career professional and want to go spend some time with a giant lighting rig and an MA3 console, how do you even do that? Because you don't know people yet to go and ask, hey, can I set up in the corner of the shop? So we're trying to make that space accessible to people as well. Embedded with professional meet and greets so that, again, people are getting this contact with all the professionals there, and really clear rubric and assessment. Many people offer workshops, and at the end, someone walks away with a certificate of completion. And I think that makes it hard for us as an industry to assess, like, how did they do, right? And also makes it hard for the student themselves to even know how they did. So I'll just show you a couple of the proposed courses that we're looking at for May, just to start giving a sense of, I'm really interested in creating different educational and career pathways for people so that all of the traditional pathways remain in place, and we're adding a whole bunch of alternate pathways. And we're making sure that a giant range of professionals who don't want to leave their industry life and come and be full-time faculty get space with students in order to teach. And I mean, really the idea to me is creating a mentorship lineage so that there's mentors above us. And then as we progress through our careers, we're mentoring people who are coming up after us. And it can give me a great deal of anxiety to think about the acquired wisdom that's in our industry and what happens if those people leave the industry or pass on and we haven't yet managed to make them part of a lineage. So this is another vehicle for this as well. And this is, of course, today focused on lighting, but we're looking at a number of things, including audio and rigging. So that's an overview of educational things that are happening up at Rocklitz. And I can tell you this, those companies are seriously committed to training the next generation. There is overwhelming support, and there's just so far been an uncertainty about how to reach the next generation. And meanwhile, in my experience, the next generation is over here saying, we would like to be reached. We would really like to come and work and do all of these things. So, Women in Lighting and many other organizations have just been incredible at bringing together those two groups and saying, somehow there's just a bit of a communication breakdown, or we're not sure about the channels to reach each other. So let's make sure everyone is aware of everything that everyone is doing. And in that way, we'll all get the opportunities we're seeking and the next generation workforce that a lot of these companies are seeking. And I think that's it for me for 10 minutes.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am so excited to be here. First of all, I'm thankful that everyone is here. This is a packed room. We don't even have enough seats for everyone. So thank you guys for coming out to LDI. This is such a big deal. There's not too many women in lighting. So the fact that we're all here together to do this is huge. Thank you, Sharon and Martin, for even putting this together. And also the book and inviting us all to Paris. Thank you again. So a little bit about myself. I'm Erica. I am a lighting designer, director, and programmer. I tour with concerts, working with artists like the Isley Brothers, Fantasia, Amore, Lucky Day. Honestly, anybody with a budget, I will work with them. I also am a member of IATSE 728. We do a lot of film and TV. I've worked on shows like Nickelodeon's That Girl Lele. I've done movies like House Party, worked on music videos and things of that nature. And I've done a lot of corporate AV as well. So I've dabbled into a little bit of everything over the last 17 years. I did want to play a little bit of my demo reel so that you guys can see some of the work that I've been working on over the years. But ultimately, my goal is to really showcase how important it is to be diverse in your lighting. For example, during COVID, we learned the importance of pivoting. The concert world shut down, theater shut down for a very long time, film and TV shut down, and then we became essential workers. A lot of lighting designers had to figure out what to do next. I mean, people are still figuring out what to do next. The writer's strike was a real thing, and I had many brothers and sisters that are either stuck in TV and film and wasn't able to pivot to other markets and things of that nature. So they sat home for a year and, went through their savings and things of that nature. And it's hard. There's many people who don't even have savings to go through. So it's important to be diverse in your contacts and things of that nature. I got my start fresh out of high school. There was this artist by the name of Kim. He's an R&B soul singer. He came to my high school and spoke. I filmed his speech, and then I interviewed him on our school radio station, and his management team was impressed. They offered me an internship from there. So I started working with Kim over the years, and I started touring with him as his video director. The first tour that I did with him, there was this opening artist named Lettucey. She was opening for him, and I knew she could not afford a video director on tour, so I offered to be her lighting director. And I said, hey, Lettucey, I would love to tour with you as your LD. And she said yes. So I've been working with her for over 10 years since that first yes. But before I really dive into the presentation, I kind of want to know who's in the audience with me. I mean, there's so many different people here from diverse backgrounds. How many of you guys have been on tour? Can I see a raise of hands? All right, okay. Anybody work in corporate AV? All right, okay. We've been abused in corporate AV. Do we have any IATSE members here? All right, there's a lot of IATSE members here. Okay, this is a big one. Have you ever worked on a gig and not been paid for it? Wow. That's extremely unfortunate, but we all had that trauma. And once you go through that once, you don't want to go through it again. You're like, how can I not do this again? I mean, I got the contract signed. The client said they're going to pay me on Friday. Like, what's going on? And then you do these net 30s and then you get to net 45 and you're like, what is going on? Why aren't these people paying? So, that's kind of why I had to pivot from different situations because, not all clients are good. Not all money's good money. And, sometimes you get tired of being abused in these situations. And you're like, what can I do to prevent that? And honestly, that's the reason why I joined IATSE and why I worked really hard to get into the union, because in the music industry is the wild, wild west. I mean, there's no accountability. Any artist could do anything to you. We're seeing what's happening with Diddy, but not the Diddy situation, just the money situation. When it comes to you do a 6-week tour, and then after the tour, you're still waiting to be paid for things. You're out asking for per diem. They're saying, hey, we give out cash per diem every Saturday. Saturday comes, they're like, I got you on Monday. Monday comes, they're like, give me a couple more days and I got you. And it's little money to them. It's per diem, $235 or whatever the case it is. And it's little money to them. It's little money to you, but it's still my money. And so without having that accountability, I'm going to my tour manager, who's the one who hired me, complaining about him. I can't go to my client, complain about my client. I got to go to somebody else to complain about the client. They'll have just a little bit of accountability, and that's what I get from my local. Bridging the gap across these genres. I mean, I love doing the tours. There's a lot of high energy. I get that instant dopamine. It's almost like a drug where you do a show, you throw those audience blinders on, and then everybody starts screaming, and like, they don't know they're screaming at me. I'm just like in my little barricade at front of house, and nobody knows it's me that's making the lights flash. They're giving all the praise to the artist. And I like that as an introvert. I like, not being the center of attention, but making all the attention. With corporate AV, a lot of you guys have done it already. It's a lot of talking heads. It may not be as exciting. The budgets can be bigger. You get into a lot of net 30 situations in corporate AV unless you're working for the actual production company. And you're like, starting out, how do I do a net 30? Okay, first of all, does everyone know what a net 30 is? Does anybody not know what net 30 is? All right, okay, cool. So net 14, net 30, net 45, that's basically my invoicing terms. If I send an invoice for a gig, they have 14 days to pay me or 30 days to pay me. Some companies even do net 45, where they take 45 days to pay you for that one gig, right? Net 60. That's crazy. And people are signing it, right? Like, at some point we have to put our foot down and be like, okay, guys, these are bad deals. Net 90. So I've had artists or clients who agree to net 14 and then it turns into a net 90. And I'm like, what gives, But then there's really great companies you work for, like Kinetic Lighting or something like that, where, you send that invoice, you're getting that check the following week. And I love those types of things. In addition to TV and film, it's a much different beast than concerts, tours, and it's also a much different beast than corporate AV, in the aspect of, you can do short films and Tubi movies and all types of non-union projects. It's extremely easy to get your foot in the door there. but you're still dealing with those clients, those producers who may not pay you. You are going to be on set for 14 to 16 to 18 hours for that one day rate that you guys talked about. Maybe it's $250 a day or $500 a day or even $1,000 a day. But then once you get to that 12-hour mark and they're still going, okay, I need some more money. And they're like, no, we agreed to $1,000. So that's why I joined the union. I don't want to say they have a monopoly on the contracts, but they've created those contracts to make people accountable for your time. I'm talking meal penalties, I'm talking health insurance, pensions, just things, those protections that you don't really get anywhere else. And this is also a very meme-heavy presentation, so it's interesting. I stole all these memes from LimeWire, and they're awesome. But this one is me, the LD, on the way to check the DMX address, and this could be in any situation. I mean, I'm on set, and I have a gaffer in my ear saying that this light isn't working, and I'm like, well, it's working on my console, and now I have to physically go out there and fix it. But it's the same thing on concerts and tours, and when there's something happening with the rig and nobody else knows how to fix the issue, I'm on my way. So challenges from going from industry to industry or from sector to sector. Some people think a moving light is a moving light, a sky panel is a sky panel. Actually, a lot of people in concerts may not even know what a sky panel is. Some people, there's different equipment that we use for different techniques, but we all use the same things for the most part. So I think it's very important for you to learn all the tools of the trade, mainly because you go into corporate AV, and let's say you're working at the Beverly Hilton and there's a corporate show going, but they also have a step and repeat out front with a whole bunch of sky panels or keynote flows and things of that nature. And theater world that you come from, you may not know how to set that stuff up. So it's important to be able to get your feet wet in all of those different avenues. The budget constraints. I mean, this is a very important thing on so many different aspects all over the industry, whether you're working on a tour that has a very limited budget to working on a tour that may have an infinite budget. I've done projects where I ask for things and they say, oh yeah, no problem. And I'm like, I should have asked for more. But then there's those constraints where you work on a project. For example, I've been working with the Isley Brothers for years, and they recently wanted to redo all of their visuals. The initial conversation was they wanted a new video for every song. I'm like, great, what's the budget? And they're like, $2,500. Right? And so they thought that was realistic. And I'm thinking, okay, well, that's not a realistic figure. Let's circle back to how we can make this work for you guys, because, at the end of the day, we're going to hire different video editors or different video contractors to help create this project. And they have to get paid no matter what, no matter if you like what they're doing or not and things of that nature. So yeah, being realistic with the clients that have these grandiose ideas, but they don't necessarily always have the budget to match. And it's so interesting being able to navigate just those conversations alone. In addition to the fast-paced environments, it's interesting going from corporate AV, where we may have 6 to 10 hours to put together a project, to a music video where we have 5 hours to be show ready, or a concert where we may spend 3 weeks in previs, to a concert where they load in 3 hours late and doors are at 5 and the artist is waiting for sound check to start, but they haven't even hung all the motors yet. So being able to have the patience to navigate those different environments is very interesting. So Some of my touring experiences, I really don't want this to be like a talking head situation. So if you guys have any questions or comments or concerns, please feel free to jump in. But some of my touring experiences were collaborating in unique venues and tackling intense challenges and building unforgettable shows. Some of my corporate AV projects is delivering client-focused solutions while maintaining high visual standards. In addition to the IATSE membership of ensuring fair conditions while contributing to inclusive and progressive industry. It's just interesting how it is difficult to get into all these different sectors, and being able to create a different network in each sector. I can't call a gaffer to get me a concert gig. I can't call a tour manager to get me a TV show. And also, respectively, I can't call an event manager to get me a wedding, maybe. But it's important to know who to call to get those gigs and how to make yourself available to them. A lot of things you learned during the pandemic maybe was how to pivot, and when those certain sectors closed, who did you call to get into another one? When that one company stopped calling you for labor, who did you call to get to another company? Were you just sending your resume out to everybody? Did you call different companies or different people that you've already had relationships with to say, hey, I'm available now, and things of that nature? So yeah, it's important to be able to navigate those different things. So I recently just joined the union, and it was mainly because of those other situations. But just being in the industry, I believe that work comes from work. A lot of times I get work from being on a gig. Let's say I'm on a concert gig. I normally get my next gig like, hey, Erica, are you available next Saturday to do this, that, and the other? So yeah, those gigs are not union productions, mainly because the artists can't afford a union production. They may tour with a non-union crew, but we're going into union houses. So, for example, I would go from New York, which is Local 1, at Radio City. I'm not touching any of my gear in Local 1, and you know how it is working with the New York local. They're awesome. They know exactly what they're doing, but they also don't want to work themselves out of a job. So, those artists aren't paying them to tour with them, so there's no union protections in that aspect for me. The Local 1 stagehands, they are protected in those aspects. So if the artist skips out on the bill from the show, I'm not getting paid, but Local 1 already got their money. What are some things that we can do to make some changes in our own personal careers? Embracing diversity in your career, embracing innovation and inclusion within your career. And I know a lot of set lighting technicians who are just that. I know a lot of lighting programmers who just program esports, or they just do church shows, or they just do rock shows, and that's cool too. But it's very helpful if you are a diverse lighting programmer or lighting director that can go from different sectors. It just helps your bank account a little bit more when other sectors slow down, and it also helps you just stay creative and on your feet. Other than that, the lifelong learning is such a big deal in every sector. I've worked with so many old heads who know it all, and they're not willing to learn anything else. Then Moving Lights and DMX came along, and they're like, we'll let him run the data or that DMX cable. Or, we're hanging lights in a rig, and they just want to run the power and things of that nature. We've all run into those types of guys, and it's very limiting for them. I mean, it's been comfortable their entire careers, but technology is changing. changing. You guys walk that floor downstairs, you see how technology is changing. I mean, we're even looking at AI taking people's jobs. I don't even want to start talking about the Blackout console and where it's going. That's a really cool app for its sector and where it belongs. But, you know, things are changing and you have to be able to change with the times. And that goes with pivoting, that goes with lifelong learning, constantly taking new classes, constantly learning. Vectorworks, for example, there's many people who are MA2 programmers who will not touch the MA3, who are so MA3 anti-MA3, they'll just go over to another console. But I also understand that theory as well, because you want to be able to do your job as efficient and quick as possible. So there's that. But we don't want to pigeonhole ourselves into a situation where we're unemployable. And then community building, that goes back to your question about, you know, how do you get those gigs and things of that nature. For a lot of my concert work, I get work directly from the tour manager, from the production manager, and sometimes directly from the artists themselves. And building that community of people who know that, you know, you can do the job, you can get it done efficiently, and you're an effective leader is important, but also knowing those people who to call is even more important. So that's pretty much my situation and what we have going on here.
I'm Carla Lopez. Nice to meet you. I'm Latina. First, I'm going to say I'm sick right now, so I'm going to talk slowly. And after that, my English is not my first language, so I'm sorry if I say wrong sentences, but I'm so proud to be here. I'm lighting designer. I more than talk about my softwares that I use or the consoles. I have a studio in Mexico and a company made it only by women. We made theater, a little concerts. The next year we are going to buy our own console with EMA. So I feel so proud of my girls. In Mexico, called it like cabronas. It's like I think okay, I think we understand. So that's it. First, and the most special thing, I want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel with this amazing woman that I really admire in all aspects. And a special thanks to Sharon and Martin, who I greatly respect and admire. Thank you for making a collect project with people from all over the world. I'm being blessed to have family and friends from all over the world. Ayrton, with his incredible support for women in the entertainment industry, and for welcoming us to their home in a couple goes in Paris. That's so fun. And Act Entertainment for support every season that Women in Lighting arrive to LDs. So I feel so proud when I see a lot of my friends who start his career in this company. And now they are trainers or are running big shows in the industry. So thank you for giving them the opportunity to grow and support. That's the most important thing. Rather than talking about my work, and especially or my journey in the industry, this talk seeks to share tools that could be useful for landing our ideas and making a lighting design from a creative concept. When I start designing a process, my studio, as the photos that I share, my studio becomes a kind of fun laboratory. And each project for me, it's like a couple X-ray, looking for its visual potential. But one of my first goals is always the audiences and their physiological response. So as motivation I have with the public and their cognitive response, I decided to study neurology. to be able to better understand human behavior and their experience. I mean, create a type of design where the public enters and live differently than how they arrive. After I choose that decision to study neurology, I'm not fine. It's just, I think I'm gonna be crazy like that. Now I have my team who help me to ball out my projects, but I don't know, just the doctors saying to me, you're not okay, just still doing art, just enjoy. So for me, it's the best way to share every emotion that I have. Sometimes, well, in my team, I have a technical director, rigging director, but sometimes I call a doctor. For example, if I design a 360 design, there for me there's not only to put some fixtures on the center of the venue and light all around the venue. So I call ophthalmologists to care the view of the public. So we met on a crazy type of things. So okay. In a book I mentioned that one of my inspiration is Devlin and her impressive narratives. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet her. This is thanks for a friend we have in common. I asked her to give me some advice on how to boil my creative concepts, as well to tell her about the tools that I use as design, as neurology, as ophthalmology, and everything else. So she answered me this. This is one of my favorite mental process. And your amygdala is una célula. It's on the center of our emotions. You need to learn how to think. You know what I'm talking about. Your emotion is right there. Everything is connected, and everything can be possible. So I was so crazy with that advice. In that moment, she released her book. So I didn't have money to buy her book because I was in the fighting with my father. He had cancer. So all my money that I win on my show, it's only for saving her health. So after that little reunion, not meeting that I have to with her, like 3 weeks after I received her book signing by her. This is for our friend we have in community. So I still working on this mental process because made a creative concept is so powerful. You can make amazing things with your mind. Your mind has an amazing power, and that's what I made a little recipe to create a concept. I name it like a creative quickly recipe. And this concept plus creativity, it's equals concept. Concept is the ball of your ideas. A lot of your ideas you can imagine, and it's mean what do you want to communicate with your ideas. And creativity for me is how we want to community. So this is a mental process. This is a mental job, and as Devlin said it, we need to learn how to think. It's not easy to boil a concept from zero, but you need to learn, find your ideas, because in a show, when we want to share about some tour that we love the design, we love the cues, we love what I would. Oh no, sorry. We want to know how they design that project. Some the LDs or the designers talking about what kind of fixtures they use or what consoles or how they build the stage. But what happened with the creative process? How they land their ideas to make all the concepts. So that's my point, and that's for me so important in my laboratory. And this is another quickly creative advice. And first is pause. Find out what your limits are that prevent you from creating. I mean, what is the thing are you blocked? Sometimes I mean it depends what show are you making, because the venue, the budget. So for me, maybe sounds like controversial, but for me less is more. Less is more. Maybe some production needed a lot of pictures, and that's good, and make the best for imagine. It looks amazing, but so when we start to create, it's like, okay, maybe my blog is, I don't have the full budget, but I need to make another correction about it. And stop your crisis. Second is stop crisis. No, stop creative crisis. You're a good designer and everything can be possible. Because sometimes maybe we have a thoughts thinking about we are not good designers, and it's, I mean, I was in that moment, and my neurologist tell me you need to start to design from your human facets. So I'm going to tell you after that. And the third, it's just third point is start to create from your human facets. Okay, hold on. For me, creativity has to do with all facets of human beings. It has nothing to do with whether one is studying arts or is a designer or studying another profession. It's about believing in doing that everything has to be to be full of possibilities. Most of the designers use the term concept to explain their project and creator work. But for me, when a project is well defined and has its own creative universe, there's nothing to explain, because what communicates is your creative work. I mean, when I unblock the position that I have to create, I use like a lot of motionals. I use all my creases, the presses that I have, and using the dark as my canvas. We start to paint with all the project. So no matter if you're a doctor, if you are, I don't know, every professional, there's not way to stop to create. So that's it. So thank you so much.
So I'm really excited to book at this, because I feel like what we're doing here is we're growing the culture of women in lighting together. And I'm excited to just be here and share some points. It's a lot of text in here. I'm not really here to highlight my work, but I'm excited to just inspire more discussion around what we're already here to do, and then open up to just networking and connecting together, which is what this industry is about. Is we rely a lot on our own skill, but then having skill together. You know, arena tours aren't put together by one person. And even if a designer's name is maybe at the top of something, it's like, think about all the people that designer has to use in order to have the vision fulfilled for an artist who has a budget. So I'm excited to talk to you today about growing the culture of women in lighting, because look at all of us here today. Look around you at how many women in lighting there are, and also on the floor. Like, I took a lap around at the expo hall, and it was just amazing to see how many women are here. So I want to start and say hi. Thanks for having me here at LDI. This is my first LDI, because typically I'm out on a tour or working a gig, or maybe trying to have some holiday time. So I'm new to LDI, and I think it's really cool that this exists, and to see this is actually a place a lot of people should start their careers. I'm a lighting and production designer. I'm a creative director and also a tour lighting and programmer who's worked with bands, pop artists, live production tours for all sizes. I've also done some music video stuff, some corporate stuff as well. And my career in lighting started through some college courses, but also a background as a musician. I was working a lot of different jobs in New York, where I moved to intern, and also work as a venue LD for New York City bands and artists, and then learning consoles through venues, and then Grandame Online through other LDs programmers who were willing to help me grow my career and share, and also online resources like Kat West, another amazing woman in lighting who was a pioneer for Grandame tutorials, and for all of us to see, oh my gosh, look at this amazing woman programmer who is telling us how to operate the state-of-the-art industry standard console. And here's a little blurb is I feel like my career is an example of growing among women in lighting, and also different men who wanted to grow a woman in lighting who was interested and who were not gatekeeping but sharing experiences and sharing show files and secrets and different opportunities with me. And so my slides are going to be kind of a continuation of that discussion of like, no matter if you're from a vendor here or if you're a lighting designer who's been doing this for years, or if you're new and you're like, I haven't graduated yet, I want to see how we can all connect those together. So yeah, here we are at LDI. This session is growing and celebrating the culture of women in lighting. LDI is growing and celebrating the culture of women in lighting. They also have a Foster the Future program. So if you're here and there's a way for you to contribute to that or sign up for that, I think you guys should check that out. It's on the LDI website. They're giving out scholarships. I see some of the scholarship winners in here. That's really cool. Light Collective also, thank you for growing the culture of women in lighting. It takes effort, and it takes things like a book and websites and surveys and data to have visibility. So yeah, I just wanted to say, look around you and celebrate the fact that we're all here. And this is just a fraction of the women who are here at LDI and the women who work in lighting. Like if you think about Vegas and all of the gigs going on and all of the things in architectural lighting, like celebrate, you're not at the rodeo convention next door. You know, there might be some women over there running some lighting for the rodeo, but you're here. And I think that's really exciting. Thank you again. We're all a part of this book that you got a copy of. A lot of you got a copy of coming in here. And it's really exciting to see all of the inspirational women in lighting and entertainment lighting, as well as the light artists and the first 2 volumes that Light Collective has put out. And I just purchased a copy of those for myself because I want to see and be inspired by those women who are in lighting as well. But yeah, there was a book launch. And I was not able to be at the party in Paris, but I do want to say to you that day I was doing a show in London at the Apollo, and I had a shadow with me, and her name is Wei, and she's an aspiring woman in lighting who's also been touring and asking, and like, you know, she's seeking out. She emailed me and asked if it was okay, and I just want to give an example, like, that's like, reach out, you know, like, who knows, you might be at the party someday, but you might also be shadowing, you might be running the show and having a shadow. So that's where I was that day, but I missed all of you, and I'm excited that the book launched so successfully. I also want to point out that women in lighting, a lot of you here who are maybe aspiring, don't narrow your vision just to being a designer right now. And this talks about what Erica was talking about with diversity in your experience is actually the best designers that I know and who have sought out ideas from have experienced being on the tour, who have experienced rigging, have experienced shop, have experienced just being the programmer, who have experienced maybe learning a software or just shadowing someone on a software, who know what the production coordinator is doing, who know what the runners are doing. Like, don't stop learning and realizing that there are women in way different spectrums of roles of lighting, and it doesn't have to be just a designer. I've been on shows where I've had women L2s and women riggers and women electricians, and it's really, really beautiful to see yourselves in all of the different roles around you. So when we're expanding the conversation of women in lighting, it's not just designers or artists, it's programmers, operators, women who specialize in networking, electricians, architectural lighting. There's so many ways to participate in it, and just, if concert touring isn't what you end up liking to do, or if one part of this or one facet of it isn't what you end up having a passion for, maybe it's another part of being a woman in lighting. So let's talk about what it means to grow a culture. One of my favorite definitions I found was to actively develop the shared set of values, behaviors, and beliefs within a group or industry. So we're looking at what we value, which is diversity, which is inclusion, it's new ideas, it's equality. I think that the entertainment industry has that. We have a lot of the ability to be who you are and also do your job. We're looking at what we do, what are our behaviors around how we spread the word about the industry, what we're doing to expand the industry, and what we're involved with. We're looking at the beliefs perpetuated in the industry as well. And we're looking at how the industry is growing and how we can contribute to that growth within our own lives individually, but also as a collective and maybe in our companies. So do you guys remember the people in your life who have helped grow your career? Maybe it's in school also, or maybe it's someone who was a mentor to you, someone who took a chance on hiring you, someone who taught you how to do something firsthand, someone who you shadowed, or maybe you got to look over their shoulder. Maybe they showed you a tip or a trick, someone who shared a show file or a license or a document or a piece of hardware with you that they own, that you were able to work from, they were able to work from, and they showed you, someone who encouraged you as well. And sometimes that's getting out of the imposter syndrome, is like, hey, you can do this. I did this. You can do this. Someone who encouraged you and someone who showed up for you also when you needed help, someone you texted and called and they answered and they provided support and they provided something maybe that you didn't have in that moment. How did that feel? How did it feel when you learned something in alignment with your passion? How does it feel to be here? How did it feel when you started doing it on your own and the empowerment of taking it into your own hands, starting to learn more, problem solving along the way? How did it feel when you accomplished something, like one more, even if it was a little step towards the goal that you have in lighting, or what you were trying to accomplish, or the show or the programming, experiencing that positive energy from another person in lighting, women in lighting, passion, seeing someone succeed also because you believed in them. Like, how does that feel? And also, how does it feel when someone recognizes your work? How does it feel when somebody says, hey, you're actually doing an amazing job, and they look at you and they believe that too? How does it feel when you get recognition for something that you've done? And if it's teaching someone or giving an opportunity as well, how does that feel when that's a reflection of you? Those are all the feelings I want to harness when we think about growing the culture of women in lighting. It's like a tree, this industry. It's based a lot on connection and networking, and kind of like a family tree. And what does a plant need to grow? It needs all these things like sunshine, water, soil, the right climate. So does the industry. So does individual careers. And so learning, development, communication, feedback, having a shared purpose, commitment, leadership, time, these are all things that we can invest in different women around us, in the culture of lighting, in our industry as well. So some action items that I like to think about when we could grow the culture a little bit more is sharing resources. And maybe this is also like for young women who are like, how do I get into this industry? These are all things that maybe don't take money, but take communication, take growth, take shared responsibility. Is sharing a resource. Oh, well, how did you learn Granda May? How did you get on that tour? Where did you start? Or, what was the venue contact, or what was that venue LD's name that you shadowed? It's like, oh, here it is. Investing time and effort. It takes a little bit of time and effort to email someone back or have a Zoom call with someone, or a discussion, or share your story, but I think it's worth it, and that's why we're all here. Teaching firsthand, allowing someone to come behind the console with you, come behind the computer screen, look at the software that you're working on. I think those are all important things. Phone calls, Zoom sessions. I've had some phone calls with people who are in programs currently in their own university, but they're like, I'd actually like to get into touring, and I'd like to get into live lighting. And it's like, okay, it might be a big pivot, and it might not be as corporate, it's not salaried like a lot of the jobs that degrees get you out there, but here's the way I did it, because there's not exactly one path. But phone calls, Zoom sessions, sharing your story, connecting via email, social media, even if it's like DMing someone back. This is good. This is growing the collective. Resume passing on for positions, especially if it's an internship, especially if it's something that you can just show up to, and doesn't take any money, but just takes time and effort. Invitations to connect with people in person. Opening up channels within your companies for mentorships, for internships, opening up channels within, if you work for a vendor, or if you work for IATSE, or if you work for a union, how can ask these questions is how can we open up more for mentorship and take the women in lighting who are out there or the young generations and get them involved. How do we provide encouragement, belief, and support? And how do we credit individuals and highlight women who have inspired you and also been in these productions, who have been women in lighting, who are working for your company? How do we highlight those women in lighting? I think it's important to ask ourselves questions too, to keep ourselves growing the culture and growing in ourselves as well. It's how can we individually and as a community expand the culture from the top down? So CEOs, how can you expand the culture of women in lighting? Vendors, companies, lighting shops, project managers. It's how can we get more women in our shops? How can we train more? And I think it's amazing because here we are also, Sharon had the Rocklittits is doing the work. It's like, how can we, those are the things we're asking is how can we do this from the top down, and scholarship programs as well, just a bunch of roadies. Those are all answers to like, how can we do this? How can we funnel into this as well? What can we also do personally to grow the gender balance within our own workplace or the next generation of lighting? I've been on a lot of tours now more than ever where there is an incredible gender balance, and it's amazing to see because it wasn't always like that. And there's a lot of people in this room who are pioneers of the industry who experienced it when it wasn't always like that. But I think it's good to celebrate that and highlight it, is that there is actual results and it's happening out here. How many women do you individually work with too? To the men who are in here, how many non-binary folks or trans folks are also in the company or in your circles? How can we get them involved more? How can we highlight them more? And also, where can you find young talent who has a passion and drive to fill the roles? It's good to ask those questions because it might be different mediums that you haven't explored yet. It could be on social media. It could be within LDI. It could be within local universities. It could be within Rocklittits. It's good to find these contacts and find these connections as well. It comes from both sides. It's like if you want the opportunity, go after the sources of opportunities as well. But if you already have opportunities to fill, go after those who are looking for them. How many seats at the table can we open up to expand gender diversity and women within our lighting? I think it's also good to cultivate a thriving, diverse community as well, with safety in the workplace, which is checks and balances, with speaking up about, things like that. If you're in a company, sexual harassment training, awareness, especially things on tour where there's standards, right? These are top-down standards that, we're here at LDI. It's a little reminder, we're here. But yeah, it's good to set a standard to where your environment and your tour and your production company makes it safe, where women feel like they're respected and represented within. Another thing that Erica also has direct. You are a mother, right? Correct. Yeah. Direct. I'm sorry. I'm having jet lag, but she is a mother, and motherhood is something that we need to celebrate and normalize too within women in career. And I've toured with a lot of artists who have kids on the road or have had kids, and you see kind of how the production or the budget shifts to accommodate that. But I think it's also good to look at how sometimes women in careers are discouraged to be mothers or discouraged to have a family life balance. But I think we should be highlighting that, celebrating, and asking how we can open up those channels to make sure that women are supported no matter what stage of life and family they're in. And it's an important conversation to have. And yeah, so I think that's incredible. And if you have questions about that, I'm not going to direct you to Erica, but I think there's a lot of women who are mothers, and it's important to ask them how, like, if a family is something that you want to have, but you also want to have a successful career, like, don't be afraid to talk about that. And vendors and men and who are in the room, talk to these women too, and ask their experience and ask what can be done that's better, and what is already happening. And that also goes to something that Erica was also talking about, which is equality of pay. And when you're getting paid, are the gigs and the production companies and the artists who are paying, are they agreeing and holding up what they're saying that they will pay you? You know, is this something that as companies we can look at more and just like have a standard of, and make women feel as equally valued as their male counterparts. Awareness and understanding also within roles of not having a gender bias from previous experience or outdated norms. There's a lot of talk about the good old boys or old heads or like a boys club or a male dominated industry. And I would say it starts at the language. Like, are we talking about the industry like that? Are we already framing it like, oh, there's not that many, it's hard for a woman? Like, yeah, we all face challenges, but I think we also have the support of each other now more than ever. And we have, you know, men here who have shown up. So thank you for also being aware of the fact that you're the one opening the doors as well and making the space for us at the table. It's good to challenge those beliefs and old habits from people who have been in the industry a long time, and also recognize and celebrate the positive impact of diversity. And this also includes people of all races and minorities and socioeconomic backgrounds, and also LGBTQIA plus community and representation and gender expression, and free to be who you are and safe in a work environment and a tour environment. So no matter what stage you're at in this career, is don't limit yourself, be fearless, recognize the value that you as an individual bring to growing the culture of women in lighting and diversity in lighting. Ask for what you need, ask for the opportunity, but also ask for what they need, ask for what we need, ask how we can be better together. So the language we use around women in lighting, let's make sure that it's out of growth and not a lack mindset, so that we can keep growing. And when our industry grows and includes more women, we all grow. And there's growth when opportunities to learn are given to women, non-binary folks with the passion, and in turn will grow the culture. And also when the conversations kind of stop centering it around one, you know, about it just being a bunch of guys, just being male. When we share tips, tricks, lessons that are passed on from previous experience, then we can discover new ways of lighting together. And that seeing that the success of women in the industry, it reflects the success of growth of everyone. It reflects the fact that you gave women in an industry a platform as well. It reflects the fact that your company is diverse and your company has these standards, and your company is not just one old way of being that does the same thing every single time. So starting with the person in the mirror, I think it's great to be like, how can I do this? And how can I also in turn affect my community around me to, have more seats at the table of gender balance. Remember, these are some ideas that just inspire this growth mindset. As skill and passion for your craft are non-gender specific, and so is strength. I've seen a lot of women who are incredible riggers, who are incredible at the physical aspects of tour and of lighting just as much as the mental and creative aspects of lighting, which is a beautiful thing to see. Remember to embody someone who's growing the industry and not gatekeeping. Remember that sharing value and access and material and creative ideas is what this industry is built out of, and how anybody got to where they are today. I also like to kind of go by the energy you put out is often the energy you receive. So it's good to put the good energy into the channels that you know are going to grow and help give energy and purpose back to you as well. And also it's good to reflect. It's good to reflect on how far LDI has come, how far this industry has come, and including women in lighting now, like more than ever than it has. And it's really beautiful to see that. It's good to reflect on how change took place and how change now looks, and the beauty of that diversity, compared to when maybe you were the only woman on the tour bus or the only woman at the gig, you know what I mean? Working with a band who maybe was all men and all of their chosen friends who are in those positions. But now it's beautiful to see artists who also want representation as well. There's a lot of women artists out there, or women bands, a lot of pop artists who advocate for that, who advocate for diversity within their own crews and their own teams. And I would say that's why there is a place for you. So don't give up. Don't stop learning, and remember that those you help grow, you can also learn and grow with and discover new concepts and ideas with. It is uncomfortable to grow. It's uncomfortable to reach out and ask. It's uncomfortable to do some of these things. It's uncomfortable for me to be on a stage instead of behind a console. But here we are. It's like the doing of it, and not being afraid to. And remember that this is a shared passion that we all have. And so channel that, and remember that there's shared passion among you, and you're going to also feel that in return when you help grow the culture and grow a woman that you know who is passionate about lighting or about the industry. So closing encouragements, I just want to say, focus on the long term. Sometimes it's not, something that you'll see, but if a little can go a long way. Invest in the people around you and be proud of that, and make connections among each other too, and keep those connections. And let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep the learning going. Let's keep meeting new people here at LDI. Like, growth and couldn't be also introducing yourself to someone, or introducing yourself to someone who you might want to open a design firm with someday, or who could be an amazing programmer and you could be an amazing, operator for video, or a programmer for video, and in tandem making a show with. And keep putting ideas in motion, because that's what all of this is that you see out on the floor. It was an idea that a lot of people came together to physically make, and that's what manifestation is. And so keep being fearless, because that's what growth is it's when you get uncomfortable but you're fearless, and you know that you're making a difference with this. So no matter what part of the industry you end up in, maybe it is lighting, but maybe you continue on and you really end up loving rigging, or loving video, or loving immersive experience, or any of the facets that come here, special effects, lasers, you could be like pioneers of women in lasers or women in AI development, so it might not just be lighting, but this could be a step towards that, and lighting could be a step towards a broader scale of your career. But don't forget to love what you do, love the journey, not just the destination, and love the people around you too, who also are passionate about this as well, and will help grow your career in turn. Celebrating women in the industry is celebrating the diversity of our industry, and the fact that we can all show up to and have tattoos and piercings and cool hair, and we don't necessarily have to wear a suit and tie. It's like, that's the beauty of this industry, right? Is we're not like sitting at a desk from 9 to 5 every day. Is we're interacting with each other, and we're creating something together on a global platform that touches lives. So I wanted to say thank you. I see a lot of faces that are familiar in the room, but also a lot of new faces. And all of you have helped me grow as a lighting designer, creative director, lighting programmer, human being. I wouldn't be here without all of you. And thanks for showing up. Thank you for coming to hear all of us speak and open up the conversation. Thank you, Light Collective, for what you're doing. And now we know about you and we can get involved. Thank you, LDI, for making the space for us. Thank you for having something that's just called Women in Lighting that we can come speak at and be seen and network and connect with each other. And thank you for making and committing to growing the culture as well. I think that's beautiful to see that commitment. Thank you, Sharon and Mark. And thank you, Sharon, Carla, and Erica. Thank you so much for being who you are in the industry, and just badass women. You're here setting an example as well and growing the culture. And that's really important. There's going to be more because of you, more women because of your influence. So let's connect. feel free to like take a picture, or screenshot, or reach out to me about anything that you have ever. And if I don't respond right away and I'm busy, I will respond to you eventually. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And if you guys want to see any of my work, it's at catborderu.com of the people that I've worked and toured with. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.